30 years ago, SparkYouth began, originally as the catalog for giving.
The birth of the catalog idea started when my late partner Sally Berg and I were having coffee. We both knew from having been in the nonprofit world for many years that potential donors would like to support small community-based organizations, and working with the kids is the best thing that we could have done because that was so good for the future.
SparkYouth works with organizations addressing some of the biggest challenges facing young people, and the visionary leaders of our organizations are addressing these challenges with innovative solutions. Our model at SparkYouth works like venture capital for nonprofits. We carefully identify exceptional organizations and provide significant financial support, vital capacity building through our signature cofactor lab, and a powerful peer network, which results in a huge return on investment. 95% of our organizations double in size and 45% triple in size during their time with SparkYouth.
I think to really understand that scope of impact and that kind of change, you actually have to start by thinking about the impact on one young person's life.
Harlem Grown started when I was in 4th grade. I was 9 years old, and I was a really shy, introverted person. I was bullied very often, so I didn't have a voice at the time. And then the trip came. So our task was to climb up this tree that was really tall, and I'm really afraid of heights. So I was unfortunately in a group where a lot of the kids bullied me. So of course, when I wasn't willing to do the task, they were relentless. And Mr. Tony stepped in and just told them to leave me alone. So I sat on the big log, and he sat down next to me, and he said, well, you know, they can be crazy and jump off the tree, but we could be safe down here. And after that, I grew really connected to him. It felt like actually having a father figure in my life for once.
When I wandered into that building across the street, and I saw firsthand the inequity and the injustice on zip codes in the richest city in the world. And Epiphany stuck out like a sore thumb. She was always, I would say, the most intellectually gifted child, but she also had a lot of things going on at home. And we had this mantra: this is not who you are, this is where you are.
So once the Saturday program started, it was my savior, because I got out of the streets. I wasn't a statistic anymore. I was becoming the person I was meant to be that I am now. As Mrs. Tony said, you're gonna run Harlem Grown someday, and I really took that to heart as like a 9-year-old, which is why my goal to be a social worker is surrounded around the Harlem community. Like, I'm very concerned about mental health, because the one thing that Mrs. Tony helped me so much with was my mental health. I'll never forget being in the hospital, and he's just like, why did you do that? Like, did I do something wrong? And when he asked me, did I do something wrong? It was like, oh wow, I almost gave all of this up because I didn't know how to handle it. And so me and Mrs. Tony worked even closer together to figure out what needed to be done. It really did save my life. I know he sometimes thinks like that's too much, but no, it did. I didn't become a statistic. I'm glad that I had the opportunity, the privilege, the luck to be the first college graduate that Mr. Tony produced.
Epiphany has reinforced my whole belief that any child, under any conditions, can thrive given equal access and opportunity. These children grow up into young adults, as you can see with Epiphany, and that's what we grow. We grow people.
You take Epiphany, who's one young person at Harlem Grown, and then you multiply Epiphany's story by the thousands of young people's stories who have been impacted by Harlem Grown. Then you take all those lives that have been impacted by Harlem Grown, and you multiply that by 75 organizations that SparkYouth has supported. And that brings us to a collective 3 million young people who have been impacted by our work.
For anyone considering investing in SparkYouth, I think one of the most rewarding aspects is their demonstrated track record and ability to drive results.
I look at investing in SparkYouth similar to how I look at building a building. It's very, very important to have a strong foundation. SparkYouth brings the resources to bear to help build that strong foundation, not only from a financial point of view, but from a knowledge point of view, a contact point of view, a resource point of view.
I decided to spend my time, money, and efforts to give back to the community through SparkYouth, because the future is our young people.
The more we grow, the more money we raise, the more services we can provide, the more kids are helped, the greater impact we will all make together.
The need is still there as it was on day one 30 years ago.